It was a magical night in Morgantown, maybe one of the best nights ever in the history of Milan Puskar Stadium. We're going to talk about it here today on Between Eers. Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Schuyler Callihan here with another episode of BTE. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. We've got episodes dropping every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday throughout the football season. We have the Walk Thru GameDay Show every Thursday, and of course the Mountaineer Postgame Show immediately after West Virginia plays their game for that week. And this week it's Kansas. But before we move to Kansas, we're going to talk some more about the Backyard Brawl. And honestly, today and probably tomorrow will be spent more on what happened in the Backyard Brawl, or maybe even just in these first three games, for that matter, because there's just so many things to talk about with this brawl, and there's so many angles that we could discuss, and I just don't think we're going to be able to fit them all in, even in these two episodes. So we may even spill some of that into the Walk Thru GameDay Show, but it's just it was one of those nights, man. I mean, it was incredible. It was the best environment that I've ever seen at Mountaineer Field. It was just a rocking place from the first snap till the end. Even when West Virginia fell down 24-14, no, I mean, there may have been a few people that left, but there weren't very many. And that place just was hopping the entire night, and it's hats off to the crowd that was there. I saw a lot of people commenting on social media that they were able to take this win in, with either loved ones that are going through some things right now, or they had maybe lost a loved one recently and they're thinking about them, and it was just an emotional night for the West Virginia side of this, and it was really cool too for me. I was able to catch up with one of my friends from high school, Randy Bain and his parents. Rodney Bain, shout out to him. He used to take me to Mountaineer games when I was a kid, so it was a lot of fun seeing him. We actually have a three-generation thing going on there. His parents and my mom went to high school together. Then my sister and his brother went to high school together, and then me and, of course, Randy went to high school together. So it was pretty cool to meet up with him and some of the kids I played baseball with in high school. Hunter Sadowski, Patrick Yoakum was there. Couple of others I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Another young guy I went to school with was Kyle Patrick was there, Jeremiah Fromhart. So really cool to meet up with all those guys and just to be able to see them. It's probably been, 6 to 7, 8 years since I've seen many of those guys. And also got to take it in with my buddy and his dad, who's really close to me. So it was just kind of fun to see all that happen in that weekend where we had the result that we had. I mean, you could not have scripted a better result for the Backyard Brawl. And I've tried to explain this to people. Like, I think there's some folks that would have liked to seen a blowout, but to me, I mean, that's what you want right there in the Backyard Brawl. You want it to come down to the very end, a lot of drama, and it couldn't have been more drama than what we saw. Scoring with 11 seconds left, you come from behind, erase a 10-point deficit, go to overtime, you score first, the place is rocking, you drop an interception, but then you get a sack, the place is rocking even more, and then the fourth down play, ball hits the ground, game's over, pandemonium. It's just a beautiful sight, and that's something that this West Virginia fan base really, really needed, and I think it just shows you that it can happen here. Yes, Pitt's not a ranked team. They're not probably going to be ranked at any point this season. But it's a massive win because it shows you in those types of games that you have the guy that can control the situation and manage the situation correctly. When we talk about the end of the game play calling and the end of the game clock management, it could not have gone better. If you score with 45, 55 seconds left on the clock, you're giving Pat Narduzzi plenty of time to just go right back down the field and kick a field goal, and the game's over. The way that they managed that, they ran the ball a few times with Clay Ash. They did some stuff in the underneath game. They were in a hurry, but not in too much of a hurry, and made sure to wind that thing down as low as they possibly could, knowing that, hey, this is either going to end 24-17 with us taking shots in the end zone, or it's going to be a tie game and there's going to be very little time left on the clock. You don't want to score with over half a minute or more left to go. Pitt would have been able to get into field goal range, or at least had a chance to. So the fact that they did manage that situation well shows you that they can handle those types of games. And I think we learned a lot about this team as a whole, because in situations like this, I mean, you go down 10 points in a game like this and it's late in the game, and the mind can just start spinning. It can just start thinking, well, here we go. A week ago it's Ohio, it's 17-10. The defense is doing everything they possibly can to keep this team in the game, and the offense goes three and out, three and out, three and out on those three interceptions. The defense, once again, doing everything they can. Scotty Fox throws two interceptions back to back, puts Pitt in a short field, and all of a sudden that game could have got real ugly really quick. But Zach Alley's defense shut that thing down, limited them to two field goals, and just continued to play extremely hard until the end of the night. But really, long enough for that offense to finally find some answers and get going. And it's also back to kind of what I said on Sunday morning's episode. It's a major, major tip of the hat to Nico Marchiol for being able to stay composed in that situation, not allowing the emotions get to him in terms of the lows of being, yanked from the game to start the second half to, okay, now he's back in the game. I've got to go lead this 10-point comeback. Like, you could get too amped up, make a bad throw, make a bad decision, try to make something happen that you really shouldn't. And he didn't. He stayed in the pocket when he needed to, made the decisions that he needed to, and did what he had to do to go and tie the game up. And I think the one play that really gets overshadowed in this is the play to Clay Ash, where Nico's getting essentially sacked on the play, and he just looks over, sees Clay Ash by the Mountaineer sideline, just flips it up to him as he's being yanked down to the ground. That is a huge play in that game. I believe that was on a third down too. If that play doesn't get made, interesting decisions are having to be made at that point. So just for him to not panic, that should give West Virginia fans some sense of relief that, okay, there may be an answer now at quarterback. And I don't want to jump the gun here, because we have, I think everybody is guilty of overreacting to what just happened. There's a recency bias is real, folks. It really is. Last week against Ohio, everybody is, including myself, was saying there's issues at quarterback. There's going to be, a long season ahead if the offensive line doesn't get fixed, which is still very much a problem. And Jaheim White's out, Jaden Bray's out, the world's over. They're never going to win another game. And then, boom, here you go. Nico shows up in clutch time. They win. And all that happened in Athens a week ago is now forgotten. So, to me, it's you have to take it one bit at a time. As bad and as dark as things felt a week ago in Athens, you kind of got to apply that same mindset to this game in the Backyard Brawl. And yes, Nico played extremely well. Yes, you still need to get the offensive line better. And yes, you may have found an answer at running back with Ty Edwards. However, now it's the consistency part. You can't the season didn't just end because you won the Backyard Brawl. You have a whole conference slate to get into that we're about to start this week against Kansas. It's a 9-game slate. It's not going to get any easier from here. In fact, it's probably going to be a heck of a lot tougher. So how does Nico take that next step and become a consistent, reliable quarterback that can play clean football and win games just like he did last week? Because guess what? That's probably not going to be the last one-score game that they're going to play in this season. The Big 12 is full of parity. Almost every game is going to come down to the fourth quarter. I believe it was the Big 12 last year, by the way, that led all of the power conferences in one-score games and lead changes in the fourth quarter. Somebody can fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what those two things were that they led in. So more likely, especially with the way the defense is playing, you're going to find yourself in a lot of games where the offense is going to have to step up and make plays. And similar to Saturday, Nico's going to have to come through in some big time situations. Can he do it time and time again? I don't know that that's going to happen 9 more times, but you've got to find some consistency there. You can't have what we saw in Athens on one end of the spectrum and then also see what happened Saturday against Pitt in the Backyard Brawl. Understandingly, so you're going to have some games where you're just off, and maybe that's what it was in Athens. But we've also seen a couple of other games in Nico's younger days that show that as well. So again, it comes back to just finding that level water, not having the catastrophic plays, not having the really bad decisions. And really for Nico, it hasn't been the catastrophic decisions throwing the football. He's maybe had a couple, but it's been more so of just getting the ball out. It's just get the ball out faster. Rich Rod talked about it too. He needs to get things diagnosed quicker, understand where to go with the ball faster. And he did that in that 10-point comeback. He didn't show that in the first half. That's why he got pulled in the first half, because the reads were taking too long. He was holding on to the football. He was getting sacked. And there just was a lack of explosive plays. And that's why they put Scotty Fox in. They had to get a spark going. And Scotty gave them that spark initially. He led them down that touchdown drive. The interceptions happen. And then go to Jalen. Didn't have really anything going there. And then you go back to Nico. And then he found himself. Made the quicker reads. Got the ball out fast. And look what happens. He found a way to lead a comeback. So it's there for Nico. And I've been saying this for several weeks and several months. I'm not against Nico. That's ridiculous if anybody ever thinks that. I'm just saying that there's a certain way that he has to play in this offense for him to be successful, maybe than Scotty Fox has to play or Jalen Henderson would have to play, because those guys can mask some of their issues with their ability to escape from pressure. Nico doesn't really have that to his advantage. Now, he can run through people, but when the pocket's collapsing and you got 3 guys up in your face, he's not plowing through 3 defenders. You got to run away from that. Scotty Fox can do that. Jalen Henderson can do that. Nico can't. He's got to play a certain way. He's got to get the ball out quick, and he's got to understand, too, if there's not going to be anything there, or there's a very good chance that there's not going to be anything there, and you want to take off, then you got to take off in a decent amount of time, not wait 2.5 to 3 seconds to make that decision, and then you can't go anywhere because you can't outrun anybody. So it's a tough thing to really evaluate. But he has got the ability, he has the talent, he's got the moxie to be successful in this offense. It's not completely a square peg in a round hole. Rich Rod will cater the offense to his quarterback and to his personnel. That's one of the best traits that he has. He will find a way to be successful with what he has available. But he's got to be consistent. And I think it's going to come. I just don't know if it's going to be in the next couple of weeks that we see that, or if it's going to be over the span of the season, which is probably what I'm thinking. The more reps that he gets, the more games under his belts that he gets, the more consistency we probably should see from him. And the more that we should probably see from Rich Rod in understanding how to get his quarterback in the best position to succeed. But the theme of this is just you found an identity, like I talked about on Sunday, and it was just something that you needed as a program. It's something that this fan base hasn't felt in a very long time. It's a sign of hope. No one's sitting here pounding the table saying West Virginia needs to be ranked this week or that they're going to go on this tear in the Big 12 and win the Big 12 or get into the college football playoff in 2025. No one's saying that. But it's a feeling that hasn't been felt in Morgantown in a very, very, very long time. And even if it was just for a night in 2025, you were able to capture that and say, hey, like this is what it's going to look like in the future. And this is what Rich can sell to recruits. Could you, folks, I think it cannot be talked about enough how massive that weekend was for recruiting. Massive. That was the biggest recruiting weekend they'll have all year. And they had a handful of commits there. They had some uncommitted guys. They had a bunch of 2027s, some 28s, heck, even some 29s, and I think even a 2030 or whatever year Andre, or excuse me, not Andre, Noel Devine Jr. is. He's in like 8th grade. He was there. And when you have the picture perfect day, you have the environment, you have the noise, you have the drama, you have the win, the way it happened, and to hear how loud that place got, and to see the fans 10 to 15 minutes after the game ended still sitting in the stands, not wanting the night to end. That was one of the coolest things I thought of the entire night. As cool as some of the plays were in the game, the ending of the game, the fact that the fans stayed, it's almost, kind of like they're waiting for a certain song to be played. And it was just a unique thing. I don't think I've ever seen that happen. Usually fans file out right after the game ends, maybe 5 minutes tops. This was 10 minutes, 15 minutes into post game, and they were still there, loud and proud, singing it all together. And that's something that can change a program. When recruits see that, see the passion, the commitment level from the fan base, that can really send a message. And it did. I've talked to a handful of recruits, and one which I'll be putting out an article either today or tomorrow about, was a 2027 offensive lineman, highly rated kid, said it completely boosted my interest in the program. And so much that he's got him in his top 4 now. So I'll have that article out. Jaden Lindsay is the recruit, if you're wondering who it was. But I'll have more on that here in the next couple of days. But just what a night. What a freaking night it was in Morgantown. And now you've got to turn the page, as hard as it is to do. We're not going to turn the page. We're going to talk about it maybe a little bit more here in the next couple of days. But as a program, you've got to find a way to move on past it. You can look back and celebrate that moment at the end of the season again. You can talk about it all you want then. But now it's all about Kansas prepping for that Big 12 opener. And, hey, they're double-digit underdogs going into this game. So that's also a message that can be sent to this team is, hey, you just went and beat Pitt in overtime. You did a lot of things right at the end of that game, and yet the odds makers still don't believe in you. What are you going to do about it? So that's going to do it for me here today on Between the Ears. Make sure, again, you hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI, and we'll be back here tomorrow morning with another episode of BTE.